Hey folks, Copperthumb here. In today's awesome tutorial, I'm going to show you how to make this incredible sword key holder. Look how great this is. You can attach your keys on here and just hook it right in here as you go out. Oh, can't see what I'm doing, but there you go. Isn't that awesome? Super cool, super quick, under 20 minutes. Let's get started. All right, folks, let's start as we always do. Say hello to our old friend, the default cube, before hitting X and saying goodbye to our friend, the default cube. Now, I want you to hit 7 on the numpad, or you can go up here and go into basically top view, top orthographic view, just so we can be looking down on our scene. And then I'm going to hit Shift A, and we're going to bring in a plane. Now, what we're going to do is build the first blade part of our key holder. This is the blade of the keyring that is going to sit right in the base there. And we can do that really easily. So into edit mode, go 2 into edge select. Let's take this top edge. Let's just grab that on the Y. Just bring it up to about here. And then we can scale that on the X like so. Wonderful. And then if we extrude it up a little bit more on the Y, lock it to the Y, and then scale that down to like a point, like so. And voila, we basically have a blade. I'm going to grab this Bambu actually, just grab that on the Y, just make it a little bit longer. The blade essentially just needs to be wide enough that it can hook into the keyring holder without falling straight through. So that's what we've done there. And then I'm going to make a little tab on the bottom because I want that to fit into the handle that we'll make right now. But to do that, and make sure if you're ever working with planes, make sure that you are always in the very, very top view. That way, when you extrude and things, it's going to always remain flat. You'll see that if I move now, it's flat. If I was to have it on kind of an angle and then I extrude, then when you move, you'll see that it hasn't extruded flat, if that makes sense. And essentially planes are a way that we can draw out our basic shapes and then we can extrude all of that geometry to give it some thickness. So what I'm going to do now is add in a couple of loop cuts here like so, but I'm also going to scale that on the X just so it widens them out a little bit, like I'll say about there. Great. Then I can grab this bottom edge here and extrude this down on the Y-axis, locking it to the Y-axis, just to create a little bit of a tab. Perfect. And now there's my blade. So now if I hit All, and I just extrude this on the Z, boom, there we go. The blade part is done. Easy peasy. Okay, now we're going to make the handle. The first thing I'm going to do is rename this plane to blade, just so I don't get confused, as I often do. Okay, cool. And then looking at the blade, the handle is basically, this little tab is going to sit into there. So we already have the geometry we need. You've seen me do this before if you followed my tutorials, but I'm essentially going to grab, hold shift, grab all these faces here, boom, boom, and this one onto here, whip, whip, all of those faces, and then I'm going to hit Shift D to duplicate it, and I'm going to duplicate it down on the Y just so I can see what I'm doing. Wonderful. Now this is all still part of the blade mesh, and we don't want that. We need it to be a separate mesh. So I can hit P to separate it, and then I'm going to separate by selection. You'll see now that it goes orange. Now if I tab out of there and then click it just to make sure it's separate, you'll see it's done blade.001. If I kept duplicating this, it'd be 002, blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to rename this to handle. Wonderful. Now that will be too much of a tight fit. So what I'm actually going to do before I do anything else is I'm just going to scale this by 1.01 just to make it a little bit bigger. So when we print it, it's going to fit into there really nicely. But we need to carry on building the rest of the handle. So let's do that right now. And we can do that easily just by going to edge select mode. I'm going to grab all of those edges. I can hold shift to keep grabbing other edges. I'm going to grab all those bottom edges, hold shift, grab that edge, grab that edge. Now I am going to extrude by hitting E and then scale. And then I'm going to bring it out like so. So I'm going to bring it out to about there. And then I'm also going to scale this on the Z just to widen the blade part just a little bit to about that. Cool. Now I'm going to go back into the top mode again, and then I'm going to extrude it, but I'm going to extrude it on the Y, down like this. I'm going to extrude it again on the Y, down a little bit like this. Then I'm going to scale it on the X, whoop, like so. Then I'm going to extrude it on the Y again, and you can see now the handle is beginning to take shape. Wonderful. Let's do it to about there. Cool. And then I can also hit, oh, I don't want to hit F. I'm going to grab that edge, and I'm going to hit face, face, face to finish off the bottom. And then, yeah, that's looking pretty neat. Now, last thing I'm going to do, I'm going to add R, and I'm going to add some loop cuts in here, like so. Cool. And then I'm going to grab that edge, that edge, that edge, that edge, basically every other edge on that. And then, oh, the camera in the way, and every other edge there. Nice. And then I'm going to scale those on the X just to give it, look at that, like a little bit of a cool, like a little bit of a grip look. And now we have our blade and our handle. Now, the last thing we need to do for this bottom part is create a little loop on the bottom that our keyring can actually go through. So let's do that. I'm going to hit Control R, and in the middle, I'm going to put a couple more loop cuts. Oops. Make sure it's centered. You can do that just by clicking, and then you can hit Enter or clicking again. And then with this tab here, I am going to extrude it down like so. It doesn't need to be a lot, just about there. You can see there, and that'll be the tab that our keyring can go through. And then, yeah, there's several ways we can do this, but I'm gonna do, let's do the Boolean. Let's not do the Boolean way. Let's do the bridge edge loops. So I could Boolean this by creating a cylinder and putting it through there, and then Booleaning out a hole using the cylinder. But instead, let's do a different way. Let's model it. Let's actually model this out. So I'm going to select both of those faces, and then I'm going to hit I to create this rectangle here. And then I'm going to scale that on the Z axis just to bring it down a little bit. Then I'm going to right click, and I'm going to subdivide. So I end up with this. Then I'm going to click these faces here, and I'm going to hit Mesh, Transform, and I'm going to go to Sphere. And then as I move my cursor, you'll see that it makes it a bit more circular. Cool. Then I'm going to do the same on the other side. So Mesh, Transform, and to Sphere, and then move it. So it does this. Oh, this one's being a bit funny. There we go. Mesh, transfer to sphere. Don't worry about that. It's poking out, but it really doesn't matter because we're going to delete those faces anyway. And we're going to delete these faces also. Boom. And then what we can do with these two holes is if I go into edge select and I grab all of those edges, all of those, all of those, all of those, and then same on this side, all of those. Now I can right click and I can hit bridge edge loops, and you'll see that it creates a perfect hole going right through. And that is it. Handle done, beautiful, looking great, blade done. Now we just have to make the holder for them, and that's pretty much it for this model. We just smarten it up a little bit and then print it, and we're good to go. Okay, let's make the base that these swords are going to sit into. And it's worth noting at this point, you can make a bunch of different swords if you want, and as many swords as you like, for as many keys as you want to have. Using these principles, you can make your handle or your blade however you like. Now, for the purposes of this tutorial, I'm just going to make 5 of the same blade because I can do that very quickly and very easily. But yeah, you could make these whatever sizes you want and however you want them to look. So I'm going to start by hitting H to hide the handle. And then on this blade, I'm going to Shift D and duplicate it. And I'm going to rename this blade cutout. The reason being is this is going to be what I'm going to use. And if I hide the other blade, this is what I'm going to use to basically cut out my blades out of the tray that these keyring holders are going to sit into. So yeah, I'm basically going to start by taking this blade, the blade cutout that I just duplicated, and I'm going to scale it to 1.01. 1, actually 0, 2, just to make it a little bit wider. So when I print this, it's going to fit in neatly without any issues. Then I am going to scale this on the Z times 2. That also gives me enough wiggle room that when I sit it into it, it can actually go into the recess a little bit more. You know, there's somewhere for it to sit once it has keys on it. Cool. That is looking really nice. Now, what I'm going to do is add an array modifier. Now, if you're following my tutorial series, you're very familiar with the array modifier, but this basically allows me to generate copies of this in a row, which is going to be perfect for our key holder. I'm going to do it with 5. So if you look on the right here, you can do it by add modifier, generate, and then array. And then I'm going to increase the count to 5, but I don't want them all touching each other. So it says offset X, because they're all being generated along the X axis. I'm going to increase this up to, let's say 2. There we go. I want to make sure there's enough room for all of my keys and the handles and everything dangling on. That looks great. Okay, now I'm going to grab these on the x-axis, and I'm basically just going to put the middle one in the middle here. Looking good. And then I can start building the frame around it. So these are essentially going to be my template. So let's do the same as we did before. In the aerial view, make sure you don't have anything selected. Shift A, mesh, bring in another plane, then scale this on the x-axis till it's just covering the blades there. Great. That's also looking perfectly positioned there. I'm then going to go into edit mode, grab the top edge, and I'm going to grab that on the y-axis and bring it up till these blades are covered like so. Look at that. That is looking neat to me. And then all I have to do is 3 face select, grab this and extrude that on the Z. And let's bring it up to about there. And then the bottom one, we need a little bit of distance from the wall. So let's just grab that on the Z and just bring it down a bit. So you can see the blades are sort of sat into it, and they're also a little bit proud of it too. And the reason we need that is we need them off the wall so the keys will hang properly. But this also allows us to now do this. If I go into object mode and I grab this, and then we're going to add another modifier, which is the Boolean modifier. And if you've seen this before, once it's set to difference, if I grab this little eyedropper and I select the blade cutout, now if I grab the blade cutout and hit hide, you will see that it's perfectly cut those out. And because we've given it enough depth, our blades that we've generated, the other blades that we've fit, will fit neatly into these, and it's just going to look great. Cool. I mean, the last thing to do now is add in some screw holes, and we can do that very easily. So I just basically want to put a screw hole here and a screw hole here so I can easily attach it to the wall, and we can do that by going Shift A. Let's add in a cylinder. Let's scale it right down to, like, let's say that. I'm going to grab it, hit G to grab, and I'm going to move it into this top corner here. And I'm going to take a look. And I'm going to grab it on the Z so it's down, scale it up, scale it on the Z a little bit like that, just so it's still sunken in a little bit. And then I am going to hit the / key, which is going to put us into isolate mode so I can see just this. And I'm going to grab the top, extrude it on the Z like so, and I'm going to scale it out like this so it kind of looks like a screw. Then hit / again, and then you'll see here that it's kind of sitting proud, and it's going to have that nice tapered edge that a screw can sit into. Perfect. Now I can see here that I have this little orange dot. I basically need that orange dot to sit in the center here in the cursor, because we're going to mirror this to the other side. Just so we don't have to duplicate the geometry, we can do the mirror, but it mirrors based on the positioning of that little alignment dot. So you can right click here, make sure I'm in, object mode, right click here and put set origin and origin to 3D cursor. Not working. Oh, it's because I don't have it selected. There you go. All right. Now set origin to 3D cursor. There you go. Now you see the little orange dot jumps across. So it helps when you have it selected. That way, when I now do the mirror modifier, generate mirror modifier, it now generates on the other side because it's mirroring on the x-axis, this axis, but it uses that origin as the point of where it should mirror, if that makes sense. Now, if I grab this base, I'm going to generate another Boolean, and I'm going to select that screw that I just made. And now if I hide those as well, you'll see that it's put some nice cutouts in the top there. And that is it. We now have our base. We now have the blade that sits in there. You see that? And we have our handle. And if I grab that and just grab that on the Y, put it where it's supposed to be, we now have these awesome keyring holders. And then all we need is a little ring to go through. And then we have this really cool sword cutout. And just to give you an idea what that could look like, let me just add in some. I'm going to go into our shading mode here. I'm going to let's add some materials. So let's make the base dark green. Let's make the blade like a silver. There you go. And let's make the handle black. And there you go. You can add materials yourself. Not so important with 3D printing, but if you do want to mock it up and have a look what that's look, that's all done in the material properties here. I'll probably do a full video of adding materials and colors and things like that because there's so much we can do there too. But look, that's pretty much what it's going to look like. And then, yeah, we'll print out a string of these. So I'm going to get these fired up on the printer, get them printed out, and then let's see how this thing turns out. It's looking cool. And remember, you can do whatever size swords you want in any varieties. As long as they're wide enough that it's when you put it in, it's going to sit, then you're good to go. So there you go. A sword keyring holder thing that looks awesome. Cheers. And here is the final product. I've added these key rings in that I just bought online. I think it was maybe like $4 for 100 of those just to finish it off to attach my keys. And then as you can see, you can attach whatever you want to these things and they look fantastic. Because of the shape, they are held in place just by gravity doing its thing and they're super secure. It looks awesome. Yeah, so I mounted this to my wall and I love how it looks. You could also use sticky back plastic if you didn't want to be destructive, but yeah, what an awesome project. I hope you learned so much following this tutorial. As always, I'm trying to teach you new things each week as we go through these, but yeah, as you continue your 3D modeling and 3D printing journey, I'm so happy you're here and I'm so happy you're learning more things. If you would be so inclined, please like, subscribe, follow me, and if you want to take it a step further, maybe support me by checking out my Patreon. All of my models that I do on my YouTube are up there, so you can grab those files if you don't want to model it yourself. But yeah, check it out. I would love the support. I've been Copperthumb. You've been awesome. I'll see you in the next one.